Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 1 of season 6 of the F1 2020 My Team career mode. Yesterday we're here back ready for the Australian Grand Prix. Now obviously if you missed out on yesterday's pre-season testing video, I would definitely recommend going back and checking out. We sort of go into all the nitty gritty, all the driver transfer news, all the team performance news as we prepare ourselves for the final season of our F1 2020 career mode. But obviously back today in Albert Park, Australia, ready to kick off the new year. Obviously the shortened calendar as well is going to make things very interesting, even less chances to have slip-ups and still try and walk away with a 5th World Championship on F1 2020. But feeling confident, feeling ready for Season 6 of this career mode. You know, winter testing is showing that we might have lost a little bit of performance, but we'll obviously have to wait and see how quickly we can get more and more upgrades back on the car over the course of the season here. Mercedes once again looking strong, AlphaTauri as well looking very strong, and also Racing Point might be a bit of a weapon if the performance chart is anything to go by ready for this final season. But let's dive in then here ready for qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix. Normally, I don't end up featuring too much Q1 footage from this My Team career mode, but I think today, obviously with it being Albert Park, maybe there's a few questions as to what the performance of a few of the other cars will be like in the opening race of the year. Of course, this thing probably about the same pace as it was at the start of last season. Well, it feels very sluggish through the first couple of corners though. Might try and change the front wing angle ever so slightly, sliding around a huge amount as we head around our first qualifying lap. Yeah, we'll wait and see as to how this thing goes. Obviously, Albert Park, a very high-speed circuit. We are running quite a slippery time trial setup for this one. Charles Leclerc already, though, down into a 17.4. Obviously, we've got the N Racism livery back on the car for the final season. The #1 as well, back on the front. Don't want to lose that anytime soon on F1 2020. But so far, this lap, not brilliant, but we're just sort of getting our footing in with the car. Heading around the final couple of corners then to finish off our first lap here from Albert Park. Obviously Charles Leclerc does a 17.4. We're going to be nowhere near that at the end of our first run there. A 19.2 is a long way off where we needed to be. Really struggling to get to grips with the car early on in this Albert Park qualifying session. We're down to an 18.6. But there's definitely a lot more time to find on the lap there, as that's a lot of curb through turn 1 and turn 2 there, finding already a 1/10 of a second. As we head back down in towards turn 3. Yeah, we just need to try and get a bit of a better hooked up lap. I think the Mercs are already down to the 16s. Goes to show just how quick those guys are over the winter break. Made a lot of progress with the new engine rules there, but already 3/10 up on this lap so far. Charles Leclerc is doing a lot better than us early on. But yeah, we need to try and get a good lap hooked up. Heading down through sector 3. I don't know what it is, I just don't have the confidence to try and push the car to the limit at this stage of the session here as we head through the final couple of corners. Running horribly wide on the grass. We made the same mistake we did on the last lap at the final corner. We're going to be a couple of tenths up, but it's still nowhere near good enough for what we need at the moment there. That's going to leave us 18th, slower than the Williams at this stage of the session here. We need to find some pace, and we need to find it fast if we want to get at Q1 here in Albert Park. Right, this is going to be a last-ditch attempt then to try and get out of Q1 here for the Australian Grand Prix. I think it must have been Season 1 was the last time we went out in Q1 here in Albert Park, but we'll wait and see as to what we can achieve on this lap. Heading over the start-finish line then. We need a really good lap here. We need a good few tenths of a second at the very least to try and sneak our way into Q2 then. Not the best run through turn 1, but we do get a good run down in towards turn 3. Trying to be a little bit more careful on the brakes. Just feel the back end sliding around everywhere. It's just not stable, this thing, at this early stage of the session there, and we're still 1/4 of a second down as we head out of sector 1. This is going to make it so difficult to try and find any time around the rest of the lap there. We do find a bit more as we head out of the first sector there, breaking down in towards the next big braking zone there. Try and use the curb on the exit. We have got a decent run there, and you can see now we're up on our last lap. Obviously we made a couple of mistakes through sector 3. Even heading through this chicane, it feels so loose, so unstable, and you just don't have the confidence to push. A bit of a better run as we got nice and tidy over the curbs that time round. But as we head down in towards sector 3, Is this lap going to be good enough to try and get us through into Q2? We need to keep it nice and tidy as we head in towards the final couple of corners of the lap. No using the grass on the outside, thank you very much. That's going to find us a huge chunk of time through the final corner, though. Bit of a mistake, we're going to be 6 tenths up. Is this going to be good enough to get us through into Q2? P13. That shouldn't have been as close as it was to try and get through into the second qualifying session, but now we've only got one proper set of tyres to go for a run to see us into Q3. There you go then, Charles Leclerc, a 16.7. He was pretty much a second faster than ourselves at the end of the first run there. I've got no idea how our teammate was able to find that sort of pace in the car, but once again, AlphaTauri and Mercedes looking incredibly strong as well. There, Hamilton on his return to the Brackley-based squad, half a second off his teammate George Russell there. Lance Stroll in 6th, Guan Yu Zhou in 9th as well. Any big surprises? No, both Williams, both Alfa Romeos and both Haas dropping out in Q2 there, but I mean, yeah, the gap between myself down to Kimi Räikkönen, just 6/100ths of a second there. Jack Aitken 15th for Ferrari in his first qualifying session as well, but I mean, we were only 3 tenths off the Q3 time, so we might just have to wait around a lot and then try and go for a Q3 attempt right towards the end of the session when we know what to aim for. So it's currently a 17.3 then that will see you through into Q3 for the Australian Grand Prix. We, like I said, have only got one shot of this on fresh rubber, so we're going to need an absolute worldie of a lap if we want to try and find the time. It is possible. The car's definitely capable of it. I mean, we've seen Charles Leclerc still down in the 16s here, but I just don't have the confidence early on this year with the new car there. Nice run through turn 1 there as you really try and use all of the track width in as much time as you possibly can down in towards turn 3. Try and just dip the wheels over that curb again. Try to avoid that one if we can. That was a much tidier run. We are starting to come together with the car just a little bit more here, obviously just by putting a few more laps through it. That was that's a lot of rallycross. And that's us out of qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix. They just hit the wheel over the grass with too much understeer on the entry there. We'll have a quick look at that one. Once again, there you can see we come through that corner nice and tightly there, just still feeling not confident with the back end of the car. Just nudged the wheel on the grass on the inside there, just run it on the outside as well. Trying to keep the foot in, knowing it was the only attempt we had. We were going to be P16 if we did, P16 if we weren't, unfortunately. And it's been a rough start to the new year here in Albert Park, out in Q2 for the Australian Grand Prix there. I think we have had that a couple of times before in this career mode. The AI seem to come out the gate strong here in Melbourne, but yeah, not qualifying that we needed, and it's P16 on the grid. So there we go then, the end of Q2. It is still AlphaTauri and Mercedes trading the fastest times at the top of your screens there. Charles Leclerc 5th place at the end of the second qualifying session there as well. Perez doing a good job to get that Renault into Q3. Guan Yu Zhou just misses out with Racing Point there as well. And Jack Aitken just about a 10th off his teammate Max Verstappen in his very first F1 qualifying session. It is not bad going at all. Fair play to Jack Aitken. Let's dive in then here, ready for the Australian Grand Prix.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today as we return to Melbourne for the opening race of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to the Australian Grand Prix. The Melbourne circuit is certainly one that needs to be taken seriously. Its combination of slippery surfaces and difficult corners make it a tricky track when it comes to overtakes. Drivers find it hard to pass and will need to take full advantage of those DRS zones if they want to have any hope of breaking through. A new season then, a clean slate where anything could happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as we get another year of Formula 1 underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice. They've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Pierre Gasly lines up on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Kvyat, Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton and Stroll, Albon, Perez, Norris and Esteban Ocon, Zhou, Sainz, Max Verstappen and Aitken, Räikkönen, Mr. Monaco, Antonio Giovinazzi and Nicholas Latifi, King, Matsushita, Magnussen and Nick de Vries. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
Right, here we are then, guys, ready on the grid for the Australian Grand Prix. Qualifying, like we said, didn't quite go the way we would have wanted, and it might be a bit of a long race out ahead of us here today. But we're going to keep our head down, try and focus, and see what we can get out of the car nonetheless. Not going to go too risky under on the fuel. It should still be pretty economical, but we'll go one lap under this time round. Hopefully we can get a nice clean start down in towards T1, and then really just try and work our way from there. You know, we've still got a quick car down the straights, but the start of this year, I think is going to be very, very difficult here from Albert Park. I just want to dive right into it, though. 29 laps ahead of us here from Albert Park. We're waiting on those 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. Not a long hold at all for the green flag. Oh, big fishtail as we try to put the power down in towards turn 1, and that's going to allow one of the Williams to have a look round the outside. Kimi Räikkönen tries to give us a big old squeeze through turn 1, and everyone concertina's up on the outside there, so we've been a bit lucky off the start of the Grand Prix. We go side by side with Jack Aitken down in towards turn 3. Thought about having a look at the inside of Verstappen there, but he holds firm, and we are up 2 spots off the start of this race then as we head out through the end of Sector 1 here, and already just need to focus on trying to settle down into the race as well as Verstappen just in front of us there. A big old train starting to already form behind Lando Norris in the McLaren car there as we head out of Sector 1, but it is still Pierre Gasly by the looks of it who leads the way. As we almost into the back of Max Verstappen there. This pickup still seems a bit slow there. We just don't have much confidence in the traction zones at the moment, but obviously we have got a lot of ERS in the car that we can use. Obviously very, very good battery management in the back of this wagon here. As can we try and get a run on Max Verstappen down in towards Sector 3? Look at that, we have got a run. Oh, Verstappen moves across us in the braking zone there, and that's going to give us front wing damage on lap 1 of the Grand Prix there. And after such a tough weekend so far, that is not going to help us out one bit. We are definitely going to have to dive it into the pits at the end of lap 1 here, as Max Verstappen there felt he moved across a bit too late. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on that one below in the comments there. But heartbreak at the end of lap 1 as we're going to be sent right to the rear of the field here from Albert Park. Now we definitely need a safety car in this Grand Prix if we want to try and recover anything from this, as that is going to put us a long, long way behind the rest of the field here. Get that new front wing on. Come on, don't want too long a pit stop. 8 seconds is not great. It's not bad, but it's not good either, as we're going to be a long, long way off the rear of the field here. And if it was going to be a long afternoon before, it's going to be even longer now. Oh, we've already got yellow flags out. Is someone having engine issues? I think it's one of the Haas cars. I think it's Magnussen who might already be falling to the wayside in this Grand Prix. So not the start to the year Haas wanted. Clearly still the slowest car in Formula 1. But could this be a safety car for us? It would desperately help us out in this Grand Prix. Is Magnussen actually falling to the wayside, or has he just got issues? He seems to be crawling along still. But yeah, George Russell, new fast lap of the Grand Prix, as Kevin Magnussen is going to fall to the wayside. And we have got a safety car. So instantly, Kevin Magnussen coming in clutch for us there, as that is going to help us out massively.
Your delta is negative, which means you are too fast.
Oh, Kimi Räikkönen also out of the Grand Prix then, so I'm not too sure what's happened there. We've had 2 retirements in just 3 laps then here in Albert Park, as yeah, Räikkönen seems to have pulled over with another engine issue as well. There's the safety car on the inside. Räikkönen, yeah, no, that's definitely an engine failure where he's parked. So not what Räikkönen needed in what might well be his final year in Formula 1. Right, coming towards the end then of lap 5. Safety car will be coming back into the pit lane, as we've already been given a lifeline in this Grand Prix. The aim now will either be try and go double mediums to the end, or if we can get to about lap 18, lap 19, we might try and take a set of soft compound tyres to the end of this Grand Prix. Obviously pretty much everyone in front of us has still got pretty fresh soft tyres, so it is going to be difficult to try and slice and dice our way through. But of course, we have got a few slower cars just in front of us there, as Nick de Vries incredibly slow in towards the final couple of corners. Getting ready to go green once more though. I think the front runners are already going, as there's still just so much backing up through the final few cars. Out of the final corner there, a huge wash of understeer as well from the Haas in front of us, as it is still George Russell who leads the way of the restart here. We've seen Mercedes have many engine failures around this track before there. I think pretty much every single season one of the Mercs hasn't made it to the end here in Albert Park, because that is not the line out of turn 1, but we need to just get our head down and focus on getting into a rhythm again. Right, come on then, young Nick de Vries. Let's see what that Haskell's got down the straights. To the outside. So we head back down in towards turn 1, and we should pretty much be past him. No, de Vries keeps the nose there. Don't think there was any contact, but we do get right around the outside through turn 1. And we're back into 18th place there as Perez and the other Renault's already had to pit in this Grand Prix. Not the start to the year Renault wanted. One car out, and one car going to be now a long way off the rear of the field. Unless, of course, we get another engine retirement with another safety car. Really, we shouldn't be battling these sorts of cars at this stage of the Grand Prix, but as long as we're getting past them fairly quickly, that's kind of all that matters here. Matsushita goes defensive in towards turn 1. And try and go for the old under-over. Round the outside through turn 2. We just about get the room. As we do now make the move work on Matsushita there as Latifi up the road. He's got a 5-second penalty for Williams. Not too sure how he's picked that one up. But hopefully we can try and close it to him and Jordan King. Oh, Danny Kvyat into the pit lane. I think he had some front wing damage in this Grand Prix because he was going very, very slowly there. The same. Oh no, it was Pierre Gasly and Lando Norris even, I should say, into the pit lane. So no wonder George Russell was able to get such a good restart here. It was actually Pierre Gasly just behind him, who I think has had some issues in this Grand Prix there. The team want us to stay out an extra lap in this race as well. Isn't really going to change too much, but we're over to P15 then, as we, more and more cars having issues early on. We're now at the back of this big old train that is probably now going to start spreading out again, because it is now Charles Leclerc, sorry, at the front of this group. And is he going to be able to pull away with, no, Danny Kvyat clear up in P2 as well there, so it's been a good little start to the Grand Prix for Danny Kvyat as well. He really needs to try and prove himself as a front runner this year. That was not the line through there, however. We go, Charles Leclerc into the pit lane as well, so clearly a lot more of the AI coming in as we get towards lap 10 of this Grand Prix. We are going to be up in towards the points, up into 11th place at this stage of the day, but we need to try and get a good run on Jordan King through turn 1 and turn 2. They're getting a little bit closer to the back of the Alfa Romeo man there, and surely with the extra grunt we've got in the back of the car, up the inside we go. Very, very aggressive move. We'll show our ex-teammate the nose, and we'll show him the gravel trap as well, and we're up into the points here in Albert Park. I think we're going to see most of your front runners now into the pit lane at the end of lap 10, so we should be right up now towards the front of the field here. One of the Ferraris stays out another lap. I think that is Max Verstappen, as Jack Aitken, his teammate, is going to be into the pit lane here. We've got a few more cars staying out one extra lap, as we're going to come out just ahead of George Russell, going on to a set of the hard compound tyres, trying to make it to the end of the Grand Prix there, as we just run a little bit wide through turn 1. So we're in good stead at the moment, but still, of course, a long way to go in this race. I think we're going to see most of the last pitters. Yep, it is going to be everyone but Esteban Ocon now into the pit lane. As Verstappen, yeah, see you later, mate. Former teammate, obviously already had the contact with him at the start of this race. Over to P2 then, here in Albert Park. Whoa. That is not what we needed through turn 1, though. How on earth did we keep that out the wall? That was very, very scary, but we keep it in one piece. There we go, Esteban Ocon, last man into the pit lane of the front runners, so 12 laps on those softs is very, very good going by the young Frenchman there, as we are now up into the lead of the Australian Grand Prix here. I'll be honest, probably would have thought that would happen pre-season after qualifying. Didn't think we'd ever get close to here, but of course we've still got a pit again, and most of these guys are going to the end. George Russell is so quick in that Mercedes at the moment. Look at the run he's got out of the final corner. That thing is mad. Down the straightaways, and we said how Mercedes had nailed the new rule changes better than us. Oh, George Russell though, very, very slow out of turn 1, and that's going to give us a little bit more front wing damage in this Grand Prix. And we're going to have to pit in a couple of laps anyway, but that might just brought our stop a couple of laps earlier, as George Russell ran horribly deep through turn 1, and more front wing damage with some big name drivers in this Grand Prix is not helping our case.
A new strategy is available on the MFD.
There we go, the team recommending the same strat as I was just thinking about doing. Not helping us out one bit here, but still a long old way to go. I think points are definitely on the table this weekend. Right, into the pits we come once more. Make sure we get it slowed down nice and tightly. Such a horrible pit lane entry. You always forget it's 37 miles an hour around here, but I think we're going to come out in the gap between the Ferraris and the Williams. So not quite where we want to be in this race, but still a long old way to go. Let's just wait and see. Come on. Quick change, quick change. Better than the 8 we had first time round? No, not by the looks of it. 8.5. Come on, get in gear. And yeah, I think we better come out ahead of that Williams, otherwise we are in a world of hurt in the second half of this Grand Prix. No, we're not. We come out behind Giovinazzi and King there. Are we going to stay ahead of Latifi? We'll park the bus through turn 1. And we do hold firm ahead of Nicholas Latifi here. And now we're back to where we started in this Australian Grand Prix here. But everyone else on slightly harder, older tyres. We've really got to get our head down here. Right, come on then, Jordan King. Let's see what you got as we head through the final few corners there. Oh, Jordan King very, very slow. We'll have a look at the inside in towards the penultimate corner here. Once again, another dive on the Alfa Romeo man. Now we should get some DRS on Antonio Giovinazzi as well there. Perez into the pits, which is going to give us 1 extra place in this Grand Prix there. A terrible weekend so far for Sergio's. Oh, look at the run we get on Antonio Giovinazzi through turn 1. Surely not a lot the Williams is going to be able to do. He's going to defend it. We go clean around the outside. Give him a big old squeeze. Oh, a bit of contact as Giovinazzi tried to keep the nose there. But we do move ourselves back up to P13 here in Albert Park, because we've got... Oh, I thought we had yellow flags there, but I think we've got away with them.
Okay, gap ahead is 7.4 seconds.
7.4. Let's go get it. We've got Gasly back into the pit lane again here. So not been a good weekend for Pierre either, as we're now going to move ourselves back a bit to P12 of the Grand Prix. Gasly's probably going to be very, very fast, though, towards the end of the Grand Prix. He's going to come out just behind Perez and just between the Williams by the looks of it. But, yeah, we are taking a good chunk of time out of Jack Aitken. Max Verstappen now the man in the points, so hopefully we can get past Jack and then look to try and score.
Use your overtake button for more power. We need to push.
Coming towards lap 20 then. We're now inside the DRS window of Jack Aitken just in front of us, so maybe we can try and go for a good run down in towards turn 3, as long as we're nice and tidy through the first couple of corners. Really try and get on the power as early as possible there. Activate the DRS. It's not the biggest run in towards turn 3, as Jack Aitken's going to go defensive in his very first Formula 1 Grand Prix. We big lock up on the way in, but we do get it slowed down. Can have the inside for turn 4, and we'll slam the door shut. Very, very aggressive move, but we don't want Jack Aitken thinking he can fight us too much over the course of the year there. And we're now up into 11th place then, 1 outside of the points in this Grand Prix here. Charles Leclerc actually isn't that far at the road. He's had a real struggle with the race pace of the other car there, but Verstappen 2.7 in front of us. 4 cars from 4 different teams with 4 different power units just in front of us, all battling out for the lower end of the points, but I'm hoping we can try and get involved in this as a new personal best of the Grand Prix. Can we get close to Verstappen there at turn 1? I don't think we're going to get close enough this time around, especially when he's got the DRS. No, we didn't even get any DRS on Max Verstappen this time round as we head in towards turn 3, but we are now definitely all over the back of him. We've got Sainz, Ocon, and I think it's Guan Yu Zhou at the front of this little train. That's just how much we're pushing this thing at the moment still, just to try and keep it in the right direction. Lap 23 then, all over the back now of Max Verstappen. Can we get close enough this time round as we head in towards turn 3 there? Yes, we can. Verstappen, oh, get a big old squeeze. We're going to send it. I don't care. Verstappen can't keep doing that to us in this Grand Prix. We do get the move done up the inside there. Our former teammate really just feeling like he can completely just force us out, block us wherever he feels like. And this time around we're not having any of it. We've already had contact with him once in this Grand Prix where I personally felt he unfairly moved across us. Gave us front wing damage, but now we've relegated him outside of the points. And that felt quite good. Next up, Carlos Sainz. All over the back now of Carlos as we head through the final couple of turns. Let's see what run we can get now on the McLaren man. Like I said, don't often see the McLarens in this career mode. They're sort of in this weird middle ground in the midfield, but can we try and get a run? Oh, a little bit of contact as Carlos very, very slow out of turn 1. What was that all about? Carlos Sainz there, I think, got a bit fishtailed. He just ran into the back of him and settled his car. So he then got even slower, but we do make the move work up the inside. And we're now up to 9th place in this Grand Prix. I think 7th might be all we can get here, but we're just going to keep pushing to the very end. Pulled off a couple of saintly moves over the last couple of laps, but can we do the same to Esteban Ocon? Making big old gains through turn 1 and turn 2 once again, and can we go 3 for 3 in this Grand Prix up the inside of Esteban Ocon? He does give us the room, and that was a lot of a fairer battle. Up to 8th place in this race is Guan Yu Zhou. Kicks out the back end through turn 4. We need to try and get past him. Hamilton's 6 seconds up the road, battling with our teammate Charles Leclerc. I think that might be a bit too much to try and close up at the end of this race. We'll try and get 7th off the racing point. So we get, oh, see that thing. Whoa. Brand new show, a little bit slower than I was expecting. Come on, man. Not too sure what that was all about, as that might give Ocon a bit of a run on us. Or force him to the outside. We use as much ERS as we possibly can. But Esteban Ocon, yeah, not able to maintain the momentum there. A lot of curb through the second part of the chicane. As, oh, we're going to have to force Ocon to the outside, but that Red Bull just doesn't quite have enough top-end poke. Alright, 4 to go then. Here from Australia. And now can we get a run on Guan Yu Zhou? This time around, no DRS. He's going to force us to the outside. Big old squeeze still. Pretty even on the brakes. But just a little bit more grip on these mediums. And we're now up into 7th in this Grand Prix. Like I said, Hamilton, about 6.5, 7 seconds up the road now, obviously after all that squabbling. But I don't think we're going to be able to close it to him by the end of this race. Round in the final couple of corners then to start the last lap of the Australian Grand Prix. And it's certainly been a big challenge today. But it does look like we're going to be able to walk away with pretty much everything I believe we could have got away with in this Grand Prix. A lot of struggles in the first race of the year. There is Hamilton. Oh, it does get past Charles Leclerc on the final lap of this Grand Prix as well, though. They are duking out just in front of us, but I think Hamilton has pulled off the move there, so it is only going to be 6th and 7th for the team at the end of the opening race here from Albert Park. Just lacking that little bit of qualifying pace that we needed. I mean, that's been a common theme for us in the past in this career mode. They're just not quite having the same qualifying pace as our teammate early on, but the race pace of the car still feels pretty good, I'll be honest. As long as we can qualify a bit better next time around in Bahrain, hopefully we'll still be able to fight towards the front in the next few races there. We'll obviously look back and trying to get some upgrades on the car as well, but it is going to be George Russell who wins the Australian Grand Prix to kick off his campaign in Season 6 of the My Team career mode here. Danny Kvyat comes through for a very, very good P2, and arguably the biggest surprise in my eyes, their fastest lap as well for Danny Kvyat. Alex Albon for Red Bull in at P3 there, right place at the right time throughout most of the Grand Prix. There is going to beat Lance Stroll to the final podium position there. Hamilton 5th, Charles Leclerc in P6, and as we head through the final couple of corners, it's going to be P7 at the end of the day here from Albert Park. A tough learning experience. We know what we've got to improve on though, and we'll take it.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
So, another fantastic victory for the Silver Arrows. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it. See what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. George Russell takes the lead in the Drivers' Championship after today's superb result. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for Driver of the Day?
I have to give it to Mr. Monaco. They fought so hard and had incredible pace at times, so I don't think anyone else did a better job today.
Let's move on to the Constructors. Mercedes moved to the top of the table. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
Well, there we are then, guys, the end of the Australian Grand Prix, and it is George Russell and Mercedes taking the first hammer punch in this year there. George Russell wins the Grand Prix 41 minutes in with a 19.5 fastest lap. There was actually Danny Kvyat, though, just behind him, who got the fastest lap of the day. 7.1 seconds back ahead of Albon there, a further 18 seconds behind the Mercedes, who won the race here today. And I mean, if that isn't a contender for young drivers moving towards the front of the field there, Russell, Kvyat, Albon and Lance Stroll all in your top 4 there. Lewis Hamilton P5 ahead of Charles Leclerc with that last lap overtake. We come through for P7 just behind him there, 6 seconds behind our teammates, and we started 12 places back isn't too bad going at the end of your day. Guan Yu Zhou in 8th ahead of Esteban Ocon there, with Pierre Gasly from pole to 10th in the end. A very, very disappointing day for Pierre there, but he did still get 1 point on the board. Carlos Sainz just misses out ahead of Max Verstappen there. Perez, Jack Aitken, and then you got Latifi in the Williams, the 2 Alfa Romeos there, Antonio Giovinazzi, and then Nick de Vries and Lando Norris a lap down, with Raikkonen and Kevin Magnussen both not making it to the checkered flag there. A bit of a weird race, I'll be honest. A lot of cars sort of all weirdly spread out towards the end there. Quite a few surprises, definitely a race of attrition as well. They're just hoping you didn't run into any issues over the course of the Grand Prix there. But of course that means Drivers' Championship the same as your race results there. Constructors-wise, Mercedes at the front on 35 points there. AlphaTauri still in P2 there, obviously with Kvyat's big haul in, P2 there with 20 points on the board. Red Bull P3 ahead of Racing Point and ourselves there, with only 5 teams scoring at the end of the season opener there. McLaren, Ferrari and Renault all will look to be trying to score big points over the course of the year there, with Williams, Alfa Romeo and Haas, I'm sure, trying to pick up the pieces where they can. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed. There's a long way to go this season. We're certainly going to need to put some upgrades on the car over the next few weeks. But yeah, we'll be back very, very soon. Ready for round 2 of the year. We head back to Sakhir for the Bahrain Grand Prix. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.